Hello, friends and subscribers. This is Rebecca Diamond with Rebecca Diamond Fundraising. I just read a really interesting article in Philanthropy Today magazine. It was actually yesterday, and it was actually not a magazine. It's actually an online article that I was sent in my inbox. You should all subscribe to Philanthropy Today. So it was really interesting because it was from a donor's perspective and why he's decided not to donate to your nonprofit anymore. Why? You didn't listen to him. You didn't respect his questions. You didn't give him feedback when he requested where his donation was going. Not every dime. Most donors don't want to know that it went for the light bulbs. They want to know it went for care, went for services, but they all know that toilet paper needs to be purchased too, right? I like to break things down to the ridiculous. Anyways, I found his article very interesting and his letter very interesting because he's right. And we could all learn from his feedback and from his side of the coin, right? Where he's coming from. So this man who wrote this article, it was talking about how Giving USA just came out with this report that last year donations declined drastically. Well, we can't have that, right? So how do we fix it? Well, we fix it by treating donors like kings and queens, right? No matter if it's a $5 a month donor or a $50,000 a year donor or greater. So his comments were referred to one of the nonprofits that he supports received a multi-million-dollar gift from Mackenzie Scott. Congratulations to all of you that have received those donations because they are life-changing for your organization, no doubt. But just because you got that one multi-million-dollar donation doesn't mean you can stop fundraising. It doesn't mean you can stop having donors like this man who give $1,000 every few months or $10,000 a year or even $500, because all of that's going to add up over time to that one multi-million-dollar donation. It's going to feed your organization for years and years to come. A lot of my clients ask me, well, how much can you raise in corporate contributions? Because that's where the money is. And I don't believe that's where the money is. Yes, corporate contributions, super important. Those relationships can go on and also be game changers like Mackenzie Scott to your organization. But they're not everything. Because if you get 2 or 3 or 4 $50,000 to $100,000 donations from corporations, you could be receiving $50 to $100 to $1,000, $50, $100, $250 donations from individuals. And those individuals can make donations quickly, right? If something happens and all of a sudden there's a tornado rips through your town and you need to raise money to help fix, the clinics or the hospital or whatever it is, you can reach out to your individual donors and ask for money. They can give more than just one time during the year if you are compelling and you talk to them and you communicate with them. So that takes me back to this article in Philanthropy Today. So I have counterpoints. He was disappointed because he sent a message to the director of the organization, the executive director, who, easy to say, blew him off. It happens. We all do it. We all think in our minds, oh, that $100 donor, what's he asking so many questions? It's only $100. But to the donor, and you're a donor, right? Fundraisers donate just as much as philanthropists donate, just at a smaller level. That $100 is important to him. And it's important for us to remember that. We can't just blow off or not think about small donors. Because just because he's only giving you $100 right now doesn't mean he doesn't have the capacity to give you more. It just means you haven't reached out to him yet. You haven't hit the right buttons to go off to make him want to give a donation to you. So what do? You must be responsive. And to this man's point, he was not responded to, he was ignored, and he felt slighted. Just because you got that $1 million from Mackenzie Scott, my money's not important anymore. I know that's a challenge. I worked for an organization that had a donor, a founder, who had $100 million to help build a new building. And he did. So generous. Absolutely the most generous person I've ever met in my life. But How do you then raise money from others who feel like, well, he gave $100 million. Why is my $100, $200, $500, $1,000? How is that going to make an impact? How does that even matter when you have this $100 million donor building the new building for you? Well, it does matter. And the only way to communicate to all the other donors out there is that this is why your money is important. Because though this person's building the building, we need tables and chairs and screens and crayons and cookies and refrigerators and computers and laptops to make our organization, our mission run. This person's donating to the building, but your donation is going to make the impact that make it happen on a daily basis. But you have to communicate. So this man talks about how 7 months went by and he still didn't hear anything. And to his, thank goodness for a man like this, or a human being like this, he went back again for a second time asking for information and still got ignored. Do you blame him for leaving? Absolutely. He should move on to an organization that respects him and appreciates him. So this man talks about in the article how he has given collectively gifts to certain nonprofits over $20,000 annually that are gone. His estate, which is what he's planning, he's over 70, was going to also donate to this nonprofit, to multiple nonprofits, in a gift of over $100,000. Those organizations have now lost that too. So the moral of this story and the gist of this article is that don't be judging your gifts. Don't be saying, oh, they only gave me $50. Oh, they can give more than $1,000. Why did they only give? They're going to sit in the back of the room. No, you have to treat your donors with the respect that they deserve. Every single one of them. Even if it's a $5 donator. So I have a client who has a few of those $5 a month donations. And every time I see them, and I think to myself, we can't keep sending out letters with stamps that cost 75 cents and envelopes and everything. The donation letter costs over $1, right, to send for a $5 gift. But that doesn't mean we can't communicate via email to these people with more than just the standard response that they get from the generated, thank you for your donation on the website. You can send them a personal note and say, hey, I noticed you've been donating to us every month. Thank you so much. Obviously, we are important to you and you're important to us. Is there any questions you have? Is anybody at my organization you'd like to speak to learn more? That doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't even cost you the $1 for the thank you note. But it's really important, and you can get your board, you can get other members of your team, or you can get other employees to reach out to these donors and pick their brain. What would you like to be seeing more of? Doesn't mean you're going to use every idea and every example that they have, but it means you care enough about them to ask, and that's what most donors want. Anyways, I'm going to continue reading this article, and I'm going to give you more feedback, because without your donors, we will all have nothing. So keep up the good work for those of you that have plans in place on how to respond to every single donor that you have. If you have a plan that says a donor that gives $20 or more gets this response, $100 or more gets this response, at $500 they get an email and a letter and a signature from the boss with a few words. At $1,000 we pick up the phone and we call them, we thank them. At $10,000 they go out to lunch, they get the pickup call and the letter with the signature. At $50,000, they're invited to our gala as our guest or our luncheon, whatever we have. They're a private meeting with the president, executive director. They definitely get to pick up the phone and call. So make a list of the different assets that you can offer your donors as ways of communicating with them, so that they feel, no matter from $5 to $5,000, that they're really important to you. Thanks for listening. This is my longest video yet, so I'm going to click off before it hits 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.